Where the fuck is
Khamzat Chimaev?
So we got DDP defending against Khamzat Chimaev in a few months, and I think I speak for a lot of MMA fans when I say that fight fucking rocks. It just fucks incredibly hard and further proves the point that middleweight has clawed its way out of the empty, barnacle-laden chasm it was in a few years ago and has risen to the red-hot side of the excitement meter. Not only did Chimaev deserve his shot after choking the teeth out of Whitaker's head, but it could also be argued that Imavov and maybe even Bahalyo deserve their shots right now as well. A lot of people feel like Imavov did more to deserve being next in line, and if we're being honest, yeah. But a first round win over Robert Whitaker still hits the mark quite a bit. And let's be real, they were going to make the Khamzat fight over the Imavov one every single day of the week. But still, the fact that there are so many contenders waiting in the wings makes things very interesting going forward. Let me start this by clarifying that yes, this is a really very good fight. And yes, I'm pumped for it. It's basically going to be the equivalent of watching a rhino on roller skates clash headfirst into a grizzly bear. This is pretty much guaranteed carnage. If this fight is boring, I will tear down the wallpaper of my house and eat the bricks holding it up with my bare hands. There is just no earthly way this one doesn't end up being a fight of the year contender. Du Plessis has more than solidified himself as one of the most exciting champs on the roster by bowling over the top talent at 185 in the goofiest yet highly effective way possible. People hated on him at first and said he sucked because his technique was kind of, you know, not pretty. But once he started rolling the heads of Whitaker, Strickland, and Izzy, it was kind of hard to deny how much of a menace he was. And on top of that, I think he's a swell guy. I think he's a good champ. I think he's a consummate professional. But he is truly up against it with this one, because get a load of this guy. I mean, just look at this. I don't even have to explain myself, but I will anyway. This dude ripped into the spotlight in the COVID era like nothing we'd seen since McGregor or Ronda or any of those huge stars from the mid-2010s. And honestly, I'm not sure we've seen much like it since. He collected skulls in violent fashion to the point where it looked like he was playing on New Game Plus and knew everything he needed to do to his opponents. It was basically just in speedrunning mode, and slowly but surely worked his way to the title. He's one of those first round demons. He might eventually gas out, but for that first round, he has the most lightning fast, devastating wrestling out of pretty much anyone. This is very much an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object type situation, because I really don't see DDP just getting bulldozed like so many others. It's a damn interesting fight. However, in saying that, I am praying to the cruel MMA gods who are probably scoffing at me right now. The DDP retains his title and holds back the Chechen beast. I do not, I repeat, do not want Khamzat Chimaev as the middleweight champ, and neither do you. Even if you're a fan of the guy, his recent track record would spell certain doom and long periods of indefinite holds on fun for the fans were he to get the strap. The very appeal of Chimaev in his early days in the promotion and the very thing that made him gain so much notoriety as quickly as he did is how often he was in the cage and how he made every opponent unfortunate enough to be stuck in there with him look like dick and balls, like they didn't belong there at all. But now, the dude fights once every GTA release, practically. The notion of him taking this fire and blazing division and acting as a doorstop on it would make me frown and groan and bitch and moan. Giving the man his credit, the hype train was certainly warranted when he first burst onto the scene. So he debuts against John Phillips in July of 2020 and proceeds to do this.
Darce choke, wait for it.
That's it, Mike. He's got it.
There's the tap. Wow. Khamzat Chimaev by submission. And he stays undefeated with an absolutely outstanding debut. Oh, man.
Jesus. Then he comes back 10 days later against Reese McKee and does this.
Again.
I mean, this is Khabib-like pressure.
Yeah, this is unbelievable right now. Look at this. That might be it. Just when I say that. There you go.
It's another win for Khamzat Chimaev. He is a wrecking ball.
Wow.
At welterweight as well.
Fuck. And then GM3. Yeah, we're noticing a pattern. It really just felt unfair for these poor guys. Oh, and I forgot to mention that he bounced back and forth from 170 to 185 between those first two. This is not something we see very often. Now, unfortunately, his terror would be stifled a bit by getting hit with the fungus, as Rick Ross would say, and was forced out of the cage for an entire year. 3 Leon Edwards matchups were booked in that time and all fell through. And at one point, Chimaev actually publicly retired out of frustration. It wouldn't last long, of course, but still, the man was having a tremendously shit time. And I'm not trying to give him shit for this first long layoff. That clearly wasn't his fault. I'm not giving him shit for being gone due to a gnarly case of the fungus. And hey, pretty much picked up right where he left off. He took on Li Jingliang in October of 2021 and just absolutely embarrassed him.
Clock is brought to you by Fitness Coach App. Li Jingliang in red, Khamzat Chimaev in black with an early shot.
Oh, nice defense by Li. Oh, nice job by Chimaev. Oh my goodness. He's talking to Dana. Oh my goodness. Wow.
I mean, come on, man. If you weren't on board the hype train at this point, you were lying to yourself. It would take a good 6 months to see him in there again, this time against Gilbert Burns, fresh off a pair of bounce-back wins after losing to Usman in their title fight a year prior. So already, pretty quickly, we're already seeing longer stretches of inactivity from one fight to the next. And I mean, he barely broke a sweat in that Lee fight. There's really no reason to keep him on ice for that long. This is before all those, rumored legal issues barring him from fighting came into play, so I'm not really sure why this happened. Regardless, this one was going to be the true test to see if Chimaev was the real deal. And while he didn't go in there and turn Burns into mincemeat like he'd done everyone else, this one was a certified banger, going all 3 rounds with a veteran and putting on a bloody spectacle. He proved with this fight he could hack it with the elites. But then another damn 6 months between this fight and the next one against Nate Diaz? What? Yeah, I forgot when they tried to assassinate Diaz on pay-per-view. Everyone step up and fork over $75 to see Nate Diaz get drawn and quartered. What the fuck was this matchmaking? But regardless, that fight didn't end up happening anyway due to weight cut issues and shuffling around matchups. So instead he got big mouth, and to no one's surprise, choked the Lego studs out of him. Despite the controversy surrounding the event and Chimaev's kind of whatever cavalier attitude about almost ruining the card, this was a pretty much expected performance from him. At least it meant more than him tossing around Nate Diaz like a snakeskin. But then we had to wait another goddamned, tarred and feathered, beer-battered bastard year to see him back in there. He had a bout booked against Paulo Costa at the end of 2023, but had to be switched out because Costa sucks. So we got a last-minute Usman matchup, which was pretty dope, not gonna lie. So he wins that fight, cool, good job, and then we have to wait basically a year and a half for his most recent one against Robert Whittaker. Eesh. I feel like it's basically impossible to be a fan of this guy these days. Like, he delivers when he gets in the cage, he's just never fucking there. He fights about as often as Gunnar Nelson at this point. That's not a good bar. But like, seriously, what the fuck was that about? Well, there are evidently several potential answers. One such potential explanation is he overtrains so hard most of the time that his body resorts to COVID mode and he keels over. This is the old overtraining Khamzat Chimaev.
Khamzat, you are proven to be a problem for everybody you're in the octagon with. Who would you like to see next when you step into the octagon?
Everybody. I come here for everybody. Kill everybody.
And this is the one taking things a little more slow, a little more reasonable, being a little more careful nowadays.
Does it annoy you now that fans, considering when you started in the UFC, it was a fight one week, a fight another week, that now fans almost talk about you like, oh, this guy never fights? Does that annoy you?
No, why should these things do something? Like beginning in my career, I was like that. So why these guys saying this, that? This is just on the fans, So whatever they say is not too personal for me.
There is a stark difference, and him overtraining is probably why he missed weight so poorly for that Nate Diaz fight. It's been talked to death, but the rumor has it as to why we barely see this guy fight anymore is because of his ties to the Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov. You see, Kadyrov is kind of bad fucking news. I don't want to get into all of the jargon, I want to keep this pretty light, but let's just say he rules Chechnya with an iron fist. And because Khamzat Chimaev is originally from Chechnya, Kadyrov embraced him and showered him in gifts and money and all kinds of shit. So this put Chimaev in an uncomfortable position where he can't really turn this down, but in accepting the friendship of Kadyrov, he's been unable to fly into the US for years at this point. This is, allegedly, again, it's just a rumor, why we only ever see him fight in Abu Dhabi. We used to see him in the US, we don't anymore. Again, just a rumor, but if this is true, Kadyrov can get in the smashing sock. It is worth mentioning that Chimaev has denied these rumors and says other unrelated reasons are why he's been so inactive, but I don't know. Feels kind of weird that we only see this dude once in a blue moon, you know, one of the biggest names in the sport. Maybe it's the UFC that's been stalling him. In this article, we can see him expressing frustration that he wasn't allowed to fight and he was being kept on ice and multiple fight camps fall through. If this is the case, Dana White can get in the smashing sock. But regardless of what the reasoning is, do we really want a champ that will just vanish into thin air for a year at a time? Do we really want a champ that only defends in Abu Dhabi and so can at max only fight twice a year? And let's just be real, I don't have a lot of confidence we'll see him in there that much. Again, much of this isn't the guy's fault, but more recently, if he's being honest about it just being shit in his personal life that got in the way of fighting in more recent years, why would I want him to take over this division that is so good right now? If he's the best, then he's the best, so be it. He deserves the belt. If he does manage to dethrone DDP and yell into the mic about fighting everybody and killing everybody, then I will just hope to God he turns the pace up and starts defending often. I can't take another John Jones, man. One is more than enough.